Canada is where I was born, raised, and it's where my roots are. It's just a sense of home, it's a sense of community, and it's just where I feel comfortable, I guess. So I had 3 ultras in a month and a half, so I really needed time to just recuperate both mentally and physically. So I had about a month off before Harricana, so I really needed that just to regroup. And so at the beginning of the start line, I actually felt refreshed and I felt ready to go. I mean, I was cold, but that's a given being in Canada, but it was a good feeling being on home turf. So at the commencement of the race, I had a debilitating migraine, and migraines, normally you're in bed with the lights off and no noise at all. So going into an ultra with a migraine, I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna finish this race. I mean, my head was splitting. Every single stride I took, I felt my head throbbing, but I kept fighting and I fought pretty much until the end, but then the cold sunk in and it was absolutely freezing. I think training in Ontario, I'm like, okay, Quebec, I think I have this. I'm familiar with the routes, the rocks, but I mean, that terrain was just absolutely gnarly. And I think it's a course that, although it only has about 4,200 meters, it's a course to take seriously because it was very challenging.
So I am approaching, I believe it's around kilometer 37 right now. Totally feeling in this race. I am so tired. I have a splitting migraine and I think I've rolled my ankle like 4 times.
Just always having to concentrate on picking up your feet and all the roots and the rocks. You have to be 100% present during that race, and your concentration has to be there at all times or else you're just gonna face plant. So I was making every single checkpoint, and I definitely was not the last person in the race. I was pretty much mid-pack the entire race. So by kilometer 85 to 90, when I saw the truck behind me closing the race, I was kind of scratching my head in bewilderment at how am I the last person? And I had guessed that people had dropped who were prior to me in the race. So I was a little bit confused, but I was kind of shocked at the same time. I broke down probably around 3-4 times, hysterically crying. And I think that's also in part to do with the fact that I was by myself on course. I mean, there were around 300 competitors, but halfway through the race, obviously you break up a little bit, so you're alone for a lot of portions of the race. So I think mentally that took a little bit of a toll on me, and I just found myself crying in the forest a lot, which is normal. I looked at my watch, I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. And I was with 2 other runners and we were all walking in a row and we're all just looking at each other like, oh darn. You know, at a certain point, you just know that you're not gonna make the checkpoint. I mean, I didn't reach the end, but I fought as hard as I could.